I went into labor, and my mother laughed. Since when do you get to decide to have a baby? Get out. My sister smirked and pointed at my car. Hope you make IT. We did some maintenance, and I jumped in, pressed the gas, nothing. The tires were flat, completely slashed. Then a luxury car pulled up quietly to the door. Cleveland Heights, a small town in Ohio, was a place where the changing seasons were beautiful. On a morning when soft spring sunshine streamed through the window, Haley Coleman placed her hand on her large belly and smiled. 9 months pregnant. Soon her and Michael's baby would be born. Good morning, baby, she spoke gently. Are you doing well today? Having worked as a nurse at Cleveland Memorial Hospital for over 10 years, Haley was trusted by colleagues and patients for her calm demeanor and keen observation skills. 4 years ago, she met Michael Green, a pediatrician at the same hospital, and after a gentle romance, they married. Michael's sincere and compassionate character made him perfectly suited to be a doctor beloved by children. Blessed with their long-desired first child, the couple purchased a small but comfortable home in the town's quiet residential area. Next to Michael's study, a lovely baby room decorated in yellow and white was already prepared. They deliberately chose not to find out the gender, looking forward to the moment of birth. While preparing breakfast, the phone rang. Seeing the name displayed, Haley's expression clouded slightly. Good morning, Mom. Haley, how are you doing? Her mother Judith's voice came through the phone. She was one of the most successful real estate agents in town. Her name and face were frequently seen in local advertisements and billboards. I'm fine. The baby's doing well, too. Well, that's good. Judith's voice had a hint of coldness in it. How long is Michael's conference? 3 more days. He'll be back from Chicago soon. I see. But are you really all right alone when you're so close to delivery? Christine was saying, shouldn't I stay over at my sister's place? Haley hesitated a bit. Her sister Christine worked at her mother's real estate company and was popular among local young men for her beauty and sociability. While putting on a show of caring for her sister on the surface, Christine's eyes always had a calculating look in them. Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home? That's exactly what I did with Reddit stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious. Thank you, but I'm fine. Maria comes by to check on me every day. Haley mentioned her colleague from the hospital. Well, if anything happens, you can always come to our house. I've kept your room just as it was. After the conversation ended, Haley sighed deeply. Her relationship with her mother had become even more complicated since she started keeping in regular contact with her father. Her father, William, was a successful businessman who ran a technology investment company on the West Coast. After the divorce, William and Haley's relationship had been severed once, but they began communicating again around the time she graduated from college. Especially recently, her bond with her father, who had sincerely celebrated her marriage and pregnancy, had deepened. Michael and her father had also hit it off, sometimes talking for hours on video calls. Judith did not take kindly to this relationship with her father. That man abandoned you, Judith had repeated many times. However, Haley vaguely sensed that there were actually complicated circumstances. After the divorce, William's success and considerable fortune made on the West Coast seemed to amplify Judith's bitterness. Sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the calendar, Haley wondered, would she really be okay staying alone during Michael's business trip? There were only 2 weeks left until her due date. After deliberating, she picked up her cell phone and sent a message to Michael. I might stay at Mother's house until you return. Don't worry, I'll contact you right away if anything happens. The reply came immediately. That would be reassuring. I'll come back right away if anything happens. Love you. Next, Haley sent a message to her father. I've decided to stay at Mother's house for a while, just until Michael returns. Don't worry, I'll be fine. William's reply came a little later. I understand. Let me know immediately if anything happens. I'm here for you anytime. Haley smiled slightly. Her father's words always had warmth and reliability. While packing necessary items in a small travel bag, she hoped that her short stay at her mother's house would pass peacefully. Her mother's house had a dignified colonial-style appearance, with a garden that was particularly well-maintained even in town. Upon entering, a nostalgic scent enveloped her. The smell of cinnamon and vanilla mixed together. It was the aroma of Judith's specialty apple pie. Haley, you're finally here. Judith embraced her daughter. My, you've really gotten big. She smiled, looking at Haley's belly. There was warmth in that smile, but her eyes weren't smiling. I'll take your luggage up to your room. Christine appeared and took Haley's bag. Hey, sis, is it really soon? What's it like? Thank you, Christine. Yes, about 2 weeks or so. It's a little scary, but I'm excited too. Really? Christine tilted her head slightly. I still can't imagine it. My sister becoming a mother. The first 2 days passed peacefully. Haley gradually got used to life at her parents' home and enjoyed her mother's nostalgic cooking. However, on the morning of the 3rd day, something began to change. Isn't that dress a bit too flashy? Judith suddenly said during breakfast. Haley was wearing a light pink maternity dress. What? This dress. Michael gave it to me as a present. Well, men never understand a pregnant woman's figure. With your build, a more subdued color would be better. Haley silently drank her tea. She was used to her mother's way of speaking. However, she looked up in surprise at the next words. By the way, does William know about the baby? Of course. Dad is very happy about it. I see. Judith's tone grew cold. I suppose he won't even come to see his grandchild's face. Typical William. Dad promised he'd come visit when the baby is born. Humph, promises. Judith set down her plate hard. You should know better than anyone how worthless that man's promises are. Mom, that's not true. Dad, that's enough. Judith changed the subject. Christine will take you shopping by car today. You need more baby items, don't you? That afternoon, Christine took Haley to the mall. Her sister was more talkative than usual, recommending one baby item after another. Sis, how about this cute romper? This blanket is soft and nice, don't you think? Christine behaved cheerfully throughout. However, words she muttered as they left the store caught Haley's ear. You're really lucky, sis. Blessed with a wonderful husband and a cute baby about to be born. Christine's voice mixed with sarcasm and envy. But you should be careful when you're happy. You can lose everything in an instant. What do you mean? Nothing. Christine regained her smile. Just that you never know what might happen in life. That night, Haley couldn't sleep. Gazing at the moon outside the window, she thought about the changes in her mother and sister's behavior. There was something unnatural about their attitude. Their reactions, especially when talking about her pregnancy, bothered her. The next day, while Judith was out shopping, Haley sneaked into her mother's study. She thought there might be a clue. She opened the desk drawer and searched inside. Among a bundle of old documents, she found her birth certificate and a worn envelope. Inside the envelope was a handwritten letter, but the writing had faded and was illegible. Only the sender's name was barely readable. William Coleman. What are you doing? Startled by the sudden voice, Haley jumped. Turning around, she saw Christine standing in front of the door. Her eyes gleamed coldly. Sorry, I was just rummaging through Mother's room without permission. Isn't like you, sis. Christine folded her arms. Looking for something? No, nothing. Haley hastily returned the letter to its place. I was just feeling nostalgic. I see. Christine didn't seem to believe her. Let's get out before Mother returns. Late that night, when Haley went downstairs to get some water, she overheard her mother and Christine whispering. It will be soon, Mother. It was Christine's voice. What will you do after that? As planned, Judith's voice held a cold determination. Don't tell Haley anything. It's for her own protection. But when Michael returns, we'll deal with that when the time comes. Just keep an eye on her for now. The next morning, Haley's cell phone rang. It was from Michael. Haley, I have bad news. The conference has been extended by 2 days. I'll be returning later than planned. I see. I understand. Haley couldn't hide her disappointment. Are you okay? Did something happen? No, it's nothing. It's just that the atmosphere here is a bit strange. She lowered her voice. It seems like Mother and Christine are hiding something. I heard them talking about me. What do you mean? Michael's voice mixed with concern. I'm not sure, but something. At that moment, the door opened and Christine entered the room. Sis, breakfast is ready. I'll call you back later. Haley quickly hung up. Were you talking to Michael? Christine looked at the cell phone. How's the conference? It got extended. Oh, that's too bad. Something flashed in Christine's eyes for a moment. But don't worry. We'll take good care of you. That evening, when Haley tried to charge her cell phone, she found Christine handling her phone. Christine, what are you doing? Her sister dropped the phone as if surprised. Oh, sorry, it was ringing so I was checking it, but it wasn't from anyone. Haley took back the phone with suspicion. Checking the screen, she noticed the call history had been deleted. She also realized the battery was suddenly low. The battery is acting strange. Isn't it just old? Christine shrugged. Maybe it's time for a replacement. That night, lying in bed, Haley couldn't suppress her anxiety. Something was off. She couldn't shake the feeling that her mother and sister were plotting something against her. She quietly took out her cell phone and sent a message to Michael. Something strange is going on. I feel like Mother and Christine are planning something behind my back. My stomach also feels a bit odd. Maybe labor is near. Additionally, she sent a short message to her father. Dad, I'm a bit worried. I'll contact you if anything happens. Haley woke up with severe abdominal pain. It was still dim outside, and the clock showed 5 in the morning. The pain subsided once, then came back like a wave. Is this labor? As a nurse, she knew how contractions worked, but it was her first time experiencing it herself. She slowly sat up and tried to steady her breathing. When she started counting the intervals between pains, she realized they were already 10 minutes apart. This was real labor. Stay calm, she told herself. First, contact Michael, then go to the hospital. She picked up her cell phone, but the screen remained dark. The battery was completely dead. That's strange, I charged it last night. The next wave of contractions came. Haley gritted her teeth and waited for the pain to subside. In the gap when the pain eased, she got out of bed and headed for the door. She needed to wake her mother and Christine. Mom! Haley knocked on her mother's bedroom door. When there was no response, she opened the door. Mom, wake up! I've gone into labor. Judith was already awake. Fully dressed, she was sitting on the edge of the bed. She slowly raised her face and looked at her daughter. There was a coldness in her expression that Haley had never seen before. Mom? Haley became uneasy. Take me to the hospital. I've gone into labor. Judith stared at her daughter, and eventually the corners of her mouth turned upward. It was more of a cold sneer than a smile. Labor? She slowly stood up. So, but who gave you permission to have a child? Get out. Haley was at a loss for words. She couldn't understand her mother's words. What are you saying? Is this a joke? The baby is coming. You think I don't know? Judith's voice was as cold as ice. You've been in contact with William. You're trying to give birth to his grandchild. Have you forgotten what he did to you? Dad didn't do anything. You're the one who divorced him, Haley shouted. Please, now is not the time for this conversation. I need to get to the hospital. You chose William. Judith turned away. I am no longer your mother. At that moment, Christine's voice was heard from the hallway. What's happening? She too was fully dressed, with her makeup done, at 5 a.m. Your sister seems to be in labor, Christine smiled maliciously. Surprised? We've been watching your every move. Christine, please. Haley begged her sister for help. I don't understand what's going on, but right now the baby is what matters. Take me to the hospital. What's with that face? Christine said as she descended the stairs. Just go in your own car. Haley followed Christine to the entrance. Through the window, she could see her car. The car she had come in when Christine had taken her shopping yesterday. But the keys here, Christine took the car keys from the shelf and tossed them to Haley. We've serviced it properly, so hopefully you'll get there safely. A chill ran down Haley's spine at Christine's words and expression. What did you do? Who knows? Christine grinned. Better hurry, or the baby might be in danger. The next wave of contractions came. Haley grabbed the doorframe and endured the pain. Why are you doing this? Get out. Judith came down the stairs. You are no longer part of this family. In confusion and pain, Haley somehow made it out the front door. The cold morning air struck her cheeks. Michael. She whispered her husband's name. Her cell phone was dead and useless. When she tried to return to the house to use the landline, the door was already locked. Desperately, she headed for the car. She inserted the key, opened the door, and somehow managed to sit in the driver's seat. Stay calm. 20 minutes to the hospital. It's okay, baby. She started the engine and pressed the accelerator. The car roared but didn't move. When she pressed the accelerator again, the engine revved, but the car didn't budge an inch. Confused, she got out of the car and checked the tires, only to find a desperate sight. All 4 tires were completely flat. Sharp cuts from a blade were clearly visible on the rubber surface. Why? Haley collapsed to her knees. She covered her face with both hands, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Another contraction came, this time more intense and lasting longer. Help, someone. From the window of her mother's house, Judith and Christine looked down at her with cold eyes. Neither of them moved a muscle. Haley thought desperately. It was too far to walk to the nearest house, especially in her state of labor. Her cell phone was unusable. At this rate, she would end up giving birth on the street. Just then, she heard the sound of an engine in the distance. A quiet, smooth sound. The distinctive sound of a luxury car's steady drive. A black luxury car turned the corner of the street and slowly approached. Dazzling headlights illuminated the darkness. The car stopped quietly in front of Haley. The door opened, and a man hurriedly got out. A tall, broad-shouldered man with graying hair. Haley. Dad! Haley looked at her father's figure in disbelief. William Coleman quickly rushed to his daughter's side. Are you all right? I got worried after receiving your message last night, so I flew in on the earliest morning flight. What's happening? Labor has started. Haley took a deep breath, preparing for the next wave of pain. The car tires. William glanced at the flat tires for a moment, then immediately supported his daughter. Let's get to the hospital right away. In my car. He helped his daughter to the car, almost carrying her, and laid her down in the back seat. Hold on tight. We'll get to the hospital soon. At that moment, the house door opened, and Judith and Christine rushed out. William. The color drained from Judith's face. Why are you here? William answered calmly, but in a voice suppressing anger. I came because my daughter is in danger, Judith. I know everything you've done. What are you talking about? We haven't done anything, Christine said frantically. Don't lie. William's voice was low and dignified. You tampered with Haley's cell phone, deliberately disabled her car. You refused to help her when she was suffering in labor. Is this what a mother and sister do? What would you know? Judith screamed. You abandoned us. I didn't abandon you. You drove me out, William said quietly. And now you're trying to drive out your own daughter, too. We'll discuss this later. Right now, Haley and the baby are the priority. He returned to the driver's seat and started the engine. Don't think you'll get away with this, Judith. Christine. The car slowly moved off and disappeared around the corner. In the back seat, Haley asked her father while surrendering to the next wave of contractions, Why did you come? After reading your message last night, I sensed something was wrong, William answered while driving. I flew to Ohio on the first morning flight, rented a car, and came right away. I had a gut feeling you were in danger. Thank you. Dad, Haley cried. Please contact Michael. Right away, William smiled at his daughter. It's going to be okay, Haley. We'll be at the hospital soon. I'm here for you. Wrapped in her father's calm voice, Haley felt a little reassured. However, feeling the next contraction coming even stronger, she realized that the birth was imminent. Hurry, the baby is. William pressed down on the accelerator. William's car arrived at Cleveland Memorial Hospital's emergency entrance as if gliding in. He quickly explained the situation to the hospital staff, and Haley was immediately taken to the maternity ward. It's going to be all right, Haley, William said, holding his daughter's hand. The best doctors are here. I've contacted Michael, too. He's on a plane now. He should make it in time. After examination, it was determined that Haley's labor was still in the early stages. However, the intervals between contractions were getting shorter, and the doctors told her she would likely give birth today. Mrs. Coleman, you're lucky, Doctor. Phillips, the attending physician, said. If your father hadn't found you, it could have been a dangerous situation. Haley smiled, but was soon hit by the next wave of contractions. Dad? Michael. Don't worry. He'll be here soon, William answered calmly. The door to the hospital room opened, and a nurse entered. Haley, are you okay? Maria. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. Haley was relieved to see her colleague's face. I was off duty, but when I heard you were admitted, I rushed over. Maria squeezed her hand. We're all watching over you. As time passed, Haley's contractions became increasingly intense. William didn't leave her side, wiping the sweat from her forehead and putting ice chips in her mouth, providing all the support he could. Dad, how did you know? Between pains? Haley asked. How did you come at just the right time this morning? William thought for a moment and eventually began to speak quietly. Actually, I've been watching over you all this time. Even when we were apart, I was always concerned about you. But you were supposed to be on the West Coast. Yes. But when I learned you were pregnant, I contracted with a monitoring company. I had them install tracking software on your smartphone. Of course, I normally tried not to look at it. I wanted to respect your privacy, but after receiving your message last night, I checked your location. Why go to such lengths? William exhaled deeply. Because I know Judith. I know how consumed by revenge she was. I feared she would direct her grudge against me towards you as well. At that moment, the door burst open. Michael rushed into the room out of breath. Haley. Michael. Relief spread across Haley's face. You made it. Michael hurried to his wife's side and embraced her. Why didn't you tell me that the situation at your mother's house had deteriorated? I didn't want to ruin your conference. Haley smiled weakly. You're silly, Michael said gently. You and the baby are more important than anything. William quietly approached the two. Michael, I'm glad you made it safely. William, thank you. Michael shook his father-in-law's hand. If you hadn't been there, I don't even want to think about it. The next contraction hit Haley. This was the strongest one yet. It's coming. The baby is coming. Doctors and nurses hurriedly prepared, and Michael and William stepped back to the corner of the room. The delivery room was quickly filled with lively voices and movements. Just a little more, Mrs. Coleman. Push, doctor, Phillips instructed. After 45 minutes of pain and effort, a cry echoed through the room. It was the moment a small life was born into the world. It's a girl, doctor, Phillips exclaimed joyfully. A very healthy girl. Haley smiled through her exhausted face. Tears flowed from her eyes. Michael returned to her side, and together they saw their daughter's face for the first time. She's perfect, Michael's voice choked. Thank you, Haley. The nurse wrapped the baby in a clean cloth and placed her in Haley's arms. Here you go, Mom, your beautiful daughter. William watched the scene from a little distance away. Tears glistened in his eyes, too. A granddaughter, he whispered softly. Late that night, while Haley rested in a private room, William and Michael sat facing each other in the hospital cafeteria. I think it's time to tell Haley the truth, William said, staring at his coffee cup. That you're her real father? Michael asked quietly. Yes, William nodded. Judith has been lying to her for years, that I abandoned her and our daughter. The reality is different. She drove me out, and she interfered every time I tried to make contact. Why didn't you tell her until now? For Haley's happiness. I didn't want to disrupt her life until she was an adult, and William hesitated a bit. I have a shameful past. When I was young, I failed in business and was in debt. Judith couldn't forgive that. She was raised in a wealthy family and feared poverty. But now you. Yes, I've built considerable wealth now. But that was after I separated from Judith. She depicted me to our daughter as a failure, without seeing my struggles and success. The next morning, when Haley woke up, Michael and William were sitting in her room. She sensed from their expressions that something serious was going on. Good morning, Haley smiled. What's with those serious faces, you two? Did something happen? Michael took her hand. Haley, William wants to talk to you about something. William took a deep breath and looked straight into his daughter's eyes. Haley, there's something I've been hiding for a long time. I think I shouldn't keep it hidden any longer. He began to tell the truth of the past 20 years, that he was Haley's real father, the truth about his divorce from Judith, and how Judith had prevented contact between them for years. I always loved you, but Judith portrayed me to you as a failure of a father. When I was able to reconnect with you after you became an adult, it was like a miracle. Haley listened silently. Many things suddenly became understandable. Her mother's unnatural attitude, her fierce opposition to Haley meeting her father, and yesterday's events. So that's why, Mother, she whispered. She did that because she knew I was in contact with Dad. She and Christine tried to punish you. In their eyes, you must have seemed like a traitor, William said sadly. I'm going to report this to the police, Michael said in a stern tone. They deliberately put Haley and the baby in danger. Haley was lost in thought for a while. Eventually, she said quietly, I know they should be punished. But right now, I want to focus on our daughter, on our new family. Morning sunlight streamed through the window, enveloping the baby's cradle in soft light. Haley smiled. I've decided on her name. Michael, if it's okay, how about Eleanor Grace Green? Eleanor is Dad's mother's name, right? Tears welled up in William's eyes. Yes, my mother's name. It's perfect, Michael nodded. Eleanor Grace, a wonderful name. The three of them gazed at little Eleanor. 6 months after Eleanor's birth, on an autumn day, Haley was playing with her daughter on a blanket in the garden. Eleanor had large blue eyes like her mother and brown curly hair inherited from her father, and was already beginning to form an adorable personality. Look, Eli. This is a birdie, Haley laughed, dangling a small stuffed toy in front of her daughter. Eleanor reached out happily, trying to grab it with her tiny pink fingers. Michael came home early from work and stood at the entrance to the garden. He watched the two of them, feeling his heart fill with warmth. What are you two doing? He asked as he approached. Daddy's home. Haley spoke to her daughter. Welcome back. You're early today. The last patient canceled, Michael sat down next to them and kissed Eleanor's cheek, and William should be arriving soon. Haley's father had started visiting them every 2 weeks. He had recently opened a small office in Cleveland and was expanding his business on the East Coast. However, that was just a pretext. In reality, it was to spend more time with his granddaughter. I should prepare dinner for Dad. Haley started to get up, but Michael took her hand. It's all prepared already. Just relax today. Life was flowing peacefully and happily. Haley had returned to work, now working at the hospital only 3 days a week. She spent the rest of the days with Eleanor. With William's financial support, they had moved to a larger house, and Michael was building his reputation as a pediatrician. However, the shadows of the past had not completely disappeared. One day, when Haley took Eleanor out in a stroller to the shopping mall, there was an unexpected encounter. She came face to face with a thin and tired-looking Judith in front of the escalator. Her mother stopped for a moment and gazed at her grandchild. Tears welled up in her eyes. Beautiful baby, Judith said in a small voice. Thank you, Haley answered calmly. There were still wounds in her heart, but she also sensed her mother's vulnerability. I didn't think I'd have a chance to talk to you, Judith continued quietly. I did something unforgivable. Years of anger and jealousy had eaten away at me. Haley said nothing, holding her daughter's small hand. Christine is also receiving counseling, Judith added. She regrets what she did too, especially that you were put in danger. As a result of the trial, Judith had been ordered to perform community service, and Christine had received a suspended sentence. Their reputation in the community had been severely damaged, and Judith's real estate business had taken a serious hit. I can't completely forgive you yet, Haley said frankly, but I want to give you the opportunity to be a grandmother to Eleanor. With time, little by little. That weekend, a small gathering was held at Haley's house. William, Michael, and Haley's close friends gathered to celebrate Eleanor's 6-month milestone. In the corner of the room were Judith and Christine, who had been invited. They were not yet fully accepted by everyone, but they had taken a step forward. Holding Eleanor, Haley gazed out the window. Trees dyed in golden colors, and the sun set streaming between them. She contemplated. What is a true family? It's not just about blood relations, but about respecting each other and supporting one another, especially in difficult times. And sometimes it's about having the courage to acknowledge mistakes and forgive. There's no such thing as a perfect family. But relationships can be built on a foundation of love and honesty. Looking around at both her new chosen family and the blood family with whom she would gradually repair relationships, Haley smiled gently. It wasn't an ending, but a new beginning.